Hey guys, Eric here. Today I'm going to walk you through the install of a Tsunami 2 decoder in my Kato SD38-2 chassis, which is going to have a SD40-2 shell on it. The guys at Soundtraxx, I shouted them out earlier this week. During the COVID thing, they announced they're going to be working from home and taking phone calls from home. So I told them they're doing good work and thank you for the work that they're doing. And they responded by saying, can you take a picture of the project that you're doing? And so I thought I would. So a little background on this model. This SD38-2 chassis from Kato comes set up from the factory for sound installation. And today I put the Tsunami 2, the model PN885013 for the EMD diesel plug-and-play decoder into it. So I'd use this chassis on another engine without sound with a hardwired decoder from Digitrax, and I wanted sound in this unit, so I went ahead and purchased this sound decoder, and I put that in, and then I had to do some slight modifications to the frame here in order to accommodate the Kato SD40-2 shell, which is a bit older. I had to go ahead and mill on the ends here, on both ends, to accommodate the sills, which are a little bit deeper on the SD40-2 than on the SD38-2. So otherwise the shell fits on there just perfectly fine. I've done it several other times. And the reason why I'm using an SD38-2 chassis from Kato is in order to represent accurately the shorter fuel tanks, or the smaller fuel tanks, that the ex-Milwaukee SD40-2s had, of which DM&E has had many of them. So I wanted to use the smaller fuel tank so that this better represents that model. Otherwise I would use a standard Kato SD40 drive, which is absolutely fine by itself. Now, moving on to the Soundtraxx install. It's pretty straightforward for this particular engine. There's no ditch lights or anything like that to contend with. What I did was I just went ahead and actually the factory board had been removed prior to this installation, and I don't remember exactly what it was, the reason for that, but basically this is a complete hardwired installation here. So what I did is effectively just connected the leads from the trucks up to the outside pickups on the decoder board. The negative and positive wires down to the speaker underneath here. And that's the nice thing about these Katos, is they put that speaker down there, so you can get a nice big speaker down there facing down at the rails. So the wire goes up and around and behind, and then the gray and the orange wire for the motor pickup, or to send current to the motor. I went ahead and soldered, and I see I have a joint to fix here, but I'll do that in between times here. I just went ahead and used bright white LEDs from. So I put the side sills and the underneath part of the shell onto the chassis so I can mount these LEDs. I was unable to locate the heat shrink tubing that I have that's large enough to accommodate the Kato light bar, but as you can see here, I've installed the cab interior and the cab glazing and the Kato light bars that came with the factory shell, and also that weight. Instead of using the heat shrink tubing, I've decided to use poster putty, which I've used for quite a few different applications on the inside of HO scale locomotive applications and other things. It helps. I find that it helps to hold wires in place, helps to hold bulbs in place, things like that during assembly, and then during the use of the actual piece. So you can see here that I've got globs of poster putty. They're probably more than I need there, but that way I can be assured that they won't drop out of place during over time. This will probably not result in quite as good of an installation as with the heat shrink tubing, but I figure this is very close to the Kato factory installation, where you'd have probably the bulb on the factory PC board about right here, and then you'd have the reverse one about right here, facing backwards, and really no shrouding to prevent that light from spilling forward or rearward. And that works out just fine in those factory units, so I figure that'll work out fine here. We're about at the same place inside the shell, so we'll go ahead and stick those in there and give that a try, see how it looks. And here we are. I've got the LEDs stuffed into the poster putty down there. I realize some people are going to call me out for the green wires being used as commons. I don't have any decoder wire that's blue right now, otherwise I'd be using that color. Chances that I'm going to have to get back in here to work on anything are pretty much nil, and we are using the white wire for the forward headlight and the yellow wire for the reverse light, so it's pretty obvious what's going on here anyway. There isn't much room for confusion. And again, there won't be any other lights in this installation, so it's pretty easy to understand what's going on. So I'll put it together and we'll take a step over to the programming track and I'll show you what's going on there. Well, here we are on my HO scale SU junction layout. I've went ahead and programmed the decoder, just a few basic items in Decoder Pro. I programmed the long address to 6359, which is the cab number, and I went ahead and changed the prime mover value to represent a EMD 645 V16 turbo prime mover, which was installed in all of the SD40-2s. Before, I think it came with a 567 or something like that, something older that didn't sound very turbo-ish, and this is much more appropriate. Just a couple of decoder values, and for Decoder Pro, I'm using, to support that, obviously that's JMRI, and also I'm using a PR3 to talk to the Soundtraxx decoder. So we'll do a quick demo and run by here and see what you think. So again, I haven't set any other values besides just the decoder address and the prime mover. I need to probably turn down the values, or the sound values and things like that, because this is way too loud out of the box. It does sound nice, but it's going to get annoying after a while because it is far too loud. Again, the air horn, bell, and there are many other things that this decoder does that I'm just using a basic Digitrax DT400R here to control, so there's a lot of things I don't have control over here. If I had a tablet computer or something, I could be hooked up to JMRI and controlling those things from that. That would be much preferable, but just for this purpose of the demonstration, you can see here that it works good. I have quite a few other little minor detail items to do on this machine, or on this locomotive. I will be putting the grab irons on, and it looks like I have some work to do on that Kato light bar, because that light is spilling over into the cab. That isn't necessarily a positive feature in my opinion, so probably what I'll do is I'll just take some acrylic paint and paint the bottom, or probably all sides of that light bar black, so that paint doesn't, or that light doesn't bleed out into the cab like it is now. And also, there is a blue LED on the light board, on the Soundtraxx light board, that I did see. So if I turn the headlight off here, you'll be able to see, or maybe you can see it from the camera's perspective, that there is a little bit of that light bleeding through too, so I'll have to get that covered up. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a tiny little bit of blue light coming through that headlight. It looks kind of strange. So we'll take care of that, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.